Lee opened. The night Caleb Ward found $40,000 stuffed inside a gym bag behind the diner dumpster, he thought his prayers had finally been answered. Lee opened. He had no idea that same bag would end with a stranger's car 3 days later. If you think you know what you'd do, what it actually cost him, wait until you hear what it actually cost him. Lee opened. You do not want to look away from this one. Caleb Ward was 36 years old and hadn't slept a full night in over a year. He worked the closing shift at Rosie's Diner off Route 9. Lee opened, scrubbing grease off flat tops until 1 a.m., then drove 20 minutes home to relieve the neighbor who watched his daughter Maddie for free because she knew he couldn't pay her. Maddie was 8. Lee opened. She had her mother's eyes and a laugh that could fill an empty house, which was good, because since her mother died of a brain aneurysm 14 months earlier, the house had been very empty. Caleb hadn't cried at the funeral. Lee opened. He'd cried 3 weeks later, alone in the shower, so Maddie wouldn't hear it through the wall. That Tuesday night, taking the trash out behind Rosie's, Lee opened. Caleb's flashlight caught something wedged between the dumpster fence. A black gym bag, zipped heavier than it looked. He almost left it. Almost. But something made him crouch down and unzip it right there in the alley. Cash. Lee opened. Banded stacks of it. Unmarked. Packed tight enough that the zipper had strained against it. He didn't count it that night. He carried it inside, locked the diner's back office. Lee opened and sat staring at it until his shift mate had clocked out. He counted it at 2 a.m. at his kitchen table after Maddie was asleep. $41,300. His hands were shaking. Lee opened, not from excitement. From alone was $340 a month since her insurance lapsed. He was 11 weeks behind on rent. He could see with terrifying clarity exactly what this money would fix. Lee opened. He did not touch it. By 7 a.m. Caleb was sitting across from Officer Reina Castillo at the small police station. 2 towns felt too big for the bag on the desk between them. You found this behind Rosie's, she asked. Lee opened, not touching it yet. Didn't count, not in helping something like this. Castillo logged it, thanked him, and Stillo logged if along Caleb, and told him they'd be in touch if anyone claimed it. Lee opened. Caleb walked out lighter than he'd walked in over a year. The first clean decision he'd made in a long time. That feeling lasted less than 48 hours. Thursday evening, Lee opened for 20 minutes before Caleb's shift ended. When Caleb walked to Wid's car, the man rolled down his window. "Yun found stio car, a bag," the man said. Not a question. Caleb's stomach dropped. Lee opened, turned it in. Police tightened. "That's a problem," he said, and drove off before Caleb could ask what kind. Caleb didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, Lee opened. Officer Castillo called him in again. "That money's connected to an ongoing investigation," she said carefully. "I need you to understand something before this goes any further. It wasn't drug money, Caleb." Lee opened. It was evidence. Evidence of what? Castillo hesitated, then told him 8 months the department had been building a case against a local county commissioner, Gerald Voss, for skimming public contract funds. Lee opened, had been collecting cash payoffs as proof, and that bag was supposed to be handed to the FBI 2 days earlier. Instead, it had gone missing after the informant panicked and dumped it. Lee opened, hoping to retrieve it quietly once the heat died down. Caleb had unknowingly turned in the single piece of evidence that could put a powerful man in prison. "So the man in the gray sedan works for Voss," Castillo said. Lee opened, "and now he knows your name." Caleb wanted to laugh at how unfair it was, and it had painted a target on his back. And it had Penny said she'd request it. He asked she'd request it. Lee opened, but the department was small, underfunded, and Voss had friends in higher offices than hers. Friday night, Caleb picked Maddie up from the neighbors early, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. He was right to feel it. Lee opened. Saturday morning, the neighbor called him screaming she 2 minutes to grab juice boxes, and when she came back out to the porch, Maddie was gone. Caleb's world folded in on itself. He called Castillo. Lee opened. then stood frozen on the sidewalk, shouting his daughter's name into a street that gave nothing back. 20 minutes later, his phone rang from a blocked number. "Your daughter's fine," Lee opened, the same voice from the gray sedan. "She'll stay that way if that bag disappears from evidence lockup by tonight." Caleb should have been powerless. A cook, a widower, Lee opened, a man with $60 in his checking account against a county commissioner's money and muscle. But Castillo did something Voss's men hadn't accounted for. She had already flagged the case to a state prosecutor 2 weeks earlier. Lee opened, worried her own department wasn't equipped to protect a witness. That prosecutor had, looped in state policial, Caleb called Castillo back, shaking, relaying the threat. She didn't panic. Lee opened. "Don't agree to anything," she said. "Keep him on the phone as long as you can. Help is already closer than you think." Caleb didn't understand what she meant until 40 minutes later. Lee opened, when 2 unmarked state police vehicles converged on a hunting cabin-owned town, on paper by Voss's brother-in-law. They'd been tracking the gray sedan since the informant first came forward. Lee opened, waiting for exactly this kind of mistake. Maddie was found in a back bedroom, scared but unhurt. Lee opened, sitting beside a man young enough that Caleb realized later he probably hadn't wanted to be in kidnapping an 8-year-old any more than Caleb had wanted to find that bag. Gerald Voss was arrested 9 days later. Lee opened. The recovered bag entered as evidence, a state backbone of the case. 2 of his associates, including the man from the gray sedan, were charged separately for the kidnapping. Lee opened. Caleb didn't ask for anything in return. He hadn't turned in the money for a reward, and he wasn't about to start expecting one now that it had nearly cost him his daughter. Lee opened, but the state prosecutor's office set something up anyway. A modest witness protection stipend, back rent covered, and quietly, without much explanation, Lee opened. A scholarship trust opened when she turned 18. Caleb didn't cry when he found out. He cried 3 days later, watching Maddie fall asleep on the couch with her shoes still on, safe. Lee opened, breathing evenly, asthma inhaler within reach on the side table. Nothing anyone would notice unless they knew what almost happened. He still works a Lurskdros. He still scrubs the same flat tops. Lee opened, but some nights, taking out the trash, Lee opened, and thinks about how close he came to keeping something that wasn't his, and how the version of himself who might have kept it would never have gotten his daughter who might have kept it, would never have gotten his daughter back the way he did. Lee opened. He didn't do the right thing because he knew how it would end. He did it because it was the only thing he could live with. Lee opened. That's the part people forget when they imagine what they'd do with a bag of someone else's money. You never actually know until it's sitting open in front of you. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, Lee opened, tell me in the comments, would you have turned that bag in knowing what you know now? Like this video, subscribe for more, Lee opened, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that doing the right thing is never really about what it costs you.